Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. It's great to have you with us for today's webinar hosted on behalf of AVEVA, a global leader in industrial software. My name is Shannon de Rehove. Today, we're diving into the world of digital transformation, where technologies like AI, machine learning, and automation are driving real change across industries. We'll be looking at some real-world case studies to see how AVEVA's software and its unified digital thread are helping companies boost efficiency, improve collaboration, and really transform the way they work. For those who might be new to AVEVA, the company is all about sparking ingenuity and enabling the responsible use of the world's resources. Its secure industrial cloud platform and applications help businesses make the most of their information and work more effectively with customers, suppliers, and partners. By connecting people with trusted data and AI-powered insights, AVEVA supports teams across more than 20,000 enterprises in over 100 countries, helping them engineer smarter, operate more efficiently, and grow sustainably. We've got an excellent lineup of speakers today who'll be sharing their experiences and practical examples of innovation in action. Before we jump in, just a few quick housekeeping notes. You'll see the Q&A section on your screen. Feel free to post your questions in there at any time. We'll try to get to as many as possible during the discussion. You can also use the chat to share comments or connect with other attendees. The session is being recorded and streamed live to YouTube, so you'll be able to rewatch or share it afterwards. And don't worry about taking notes. We'll be sending you a copy of the slide deck after the session wraps up. Now let's meet our speakers. First up, we have Glenn Kerkhoff, AVEVA's Global Industry Principal for Mining, Metals and Minerals, or M for short. Glenn leads the M industry practice and focuses on a wide range of operational technology solutions, from process control and operations data management to production management, advanced analytics, simulation, optimization, and cloud computing. Joining him is Zahab Nabil, Senior Pre-Sales Engineer at AVEVA. With nearly a decade of experience in operational technologies, Zahab leads the technical side of the sales process for AVEVA's software tools. He's passionate about tackling complex challenges and loves collaborating with teams to find smart, innovative solutions. So without further ado, let's get started. Glenn, over to you.
Thank you, Shannon. Hello, everyone. My name is Glenn Kerkhoff. I'm the Global Industry Principal for Mining, Metals and Minerals at AVEVA. It's great to be here with you all, and thank you for joining. Let me just share my screen. Okay. So today's topic is called Beyond Extraction. And here we're just showing a quick overview of the agenda for today's webinar. We'll be talking about the new era of mining, metals and minerals. We'll be talking about AVEVA from mine to market and beyond. We'll be doing a short demonstration, which Zahab will present. I will talk about some customer stories, and then we will finish up with some questions and answers. Okay, so first up, the new era of mining, metals and minerals. And to start with, I'd like to present some industry challenges, just to set the scene in terms of what's happening in the mining, metals and minerals industry today. So first up, we have the topic of digitalization. This is a study from PwC where 49% of top executives at global mining and metals companies are including automation and digitalization goals in their long-term corporate strategies. Then the topic of workforce. This is from the Mining HR Council. And this is a quite concerning figure here. 70% of 15 to 30-year-olds have said they probably or definitely will not consider a career in mining. And this is the highest proportion of all industries. The third topic here is around climate risk, where 35% or a third of all mining companies have said their companies will be highly or extremely exposed to climate risk. There's the general topic of technology. So a recent EY survey found that 74% of mining and metals executives have said that integrating technology is a key challenge to their companies. And then the last one is around supply chain, where 30% have indicated that geopolitical realignment could be disruptive, of up to 30% for critical mineral trade flows, and this will have a significant impact on supply chain gaps. So these different topics here are interesting, and it really means that we've got to think about what the Triple M future is going to look like when you consider these challenges. And clearly, things will be different going forward into the future. We're facing some very challenging times. We will have new pressures around technology, digitalization, workforce, sustainability, and supply chain. And we must figure out a way as an industry to be able to change quickly and manage these new challenging dynamics. So the workforce of the future is going to be changing. There will be a lot more focus on technology and digital. Critical minerals for energy transition will be an important focus. Capital expenditure is something that's really got to be carefully managed. We need to be able to reduce cost and minimize risk. And finally, operators must address the environmental and sustainability issues for the future. So these are all topics that we will talk about here during our discussion today. So firstly, let's just talk about some industry priorities. The first one is around operations, around things like production efficiency, throughput, overall equipment effectiveness, and product quality. And then we look at topics like maintenance and reliability and asset performance. Of course, health, safety, and risk management are key to having efficient operations, and ultimately, how do we reduce cost of overall operations? We then need to look across the entire value chain. So not just about mining, but mining, processing, logistics, transport with rail and port, the shipping, and ultimately metallurgy. Another key priority for the industry is around energy management. Energy management has become a very significant topic for the industry from the point of view of reducing energy consumption and reducing energy cost, while at the same time increasing security of obtaining energy for operations. And ultimately, there will be an effect in terms of reducing greenhouse gas emissions. The future workforce is going to be a key priority for the industry, looking at remote operations and then next generation for managers and other personnel, and what it means for the retiring skills that are coming into play in the next few years. There is the topic of sustainability. So how do we really move from the current energy mix into things like electrification, and how do we reduce emissions, and ultimately how do we handle ESG and the transparency of ESG emissions? I mentioned before about critical minerals. So the critical minerals demand around copper, lithium, nickel, and other rare earths is going to be significant as we move forward into the future. Technology and innovation, of course, is going to be a top topic. How do we handle things like digital twins, AI, automation, and integrated operations centers? And then also supply chain. It's very interesting. We're seeing a lot of change in the supply chains for the industry. We're seeing big tech, companies like Apple, automakers, companies like Tesla and Ford, and other energy companies are all starting to get involved in the upstream supply chain for their different components they need for their industries. So these are all the different priorities that we're looking at as we go forward with the industry. I'll talk a little bit about some value opportunities here. What you can see here are the 6 pillars of value opportunity where our mining, metals, and minerals companies find value. The first one is around process productivity. So looking at real-time condition monitoring, looking at remote operations, and being able to visualize in real time things like process productivity, things like maintenance, and looking at material flows and the supply chain of the material through the network. In the second area here, we talk about energy and water conservation. So looking at real-time energy and water monitoring, reducing the reliance on fuel, coal, gas consumption, and optimizing mobile equipment and fuel efficiency. In the third column here, you'll see about asset reliability. Asset reliability is really about improving uptime and reducing unplanned downtime. And we do this in a variety of different ways using real-time monitoring for equipment and then also condition-based and predictive maintenance techniques. Environment, health, and safety is the fourth column here. In this space, we're really looking at the environmental and health and safety issues and how we can monitor these in real time to make sure that we are adhering to different thresholds, to make sure we're conforming with governmental regulations, to be able to manage and minimize accidents and incidents, and ultimately to make sure we are being compliant with regulations and audit. In the fifth column here, we talk about quality. So this is the quality of the finished product, whether that's concentrate coming from a processing plant or whether it's steel or aluminum or copper or gold coming from final metallurgy. And we look at how we can monitor that quality throughout the value chain and really understand what is causing issues where quality becomes a problem. And this is also tied into genealogy and product history. And then finally, looking at improving the yield of material that we are gaining from our operations. And then finally, over here, we've got our standardized KPIs and reporting. So this is really taking a look at having common definitions and calculations across the entire plant-wide process and making sure that we have visibility of all the KPIs at an enterprise level. This will allow us to do benchmarking and comparisons and ultimately to populate standard dashboards and KPIs across the entire organization. So in this area here of where do mining and metals companies find value, this is really the 6 key areas that we focus on. I do want to take a little bit of time to talk specifically about environmental and sustainability. And when we talk about this topic, we really think about this in 8 key areas. The firstly is about improving operations, and that's being able to produce more product with less inputs. So driving efficiency and driving asset performance and reducing waste has the effect of improving our footprint on the environmental side. Energy management. I mentioned this before. Energy management is becoming a very important topic amongst our industry. And how can we not just reduce energy, but how can we make sure we have a sustainable energy supply? Water conservation. Water also is becoming a very big topic in many parts of the world, and managing water from a conservation perspective is important. In operations, there's all sorts of chemicals and reagents. There's diesel fuel, there's lubrications. There's a lot of different chemicals that need to be addressed and managed at a mine site to make sure that the chemicals are being kept in secure locations. Emissions is another topic, of course. The greenhouse gas emissions is one topic. But of course, there's noxious gas and particulates and pollutions, especially important in underground mining where we have restricted airflow. Waste material, things like waste rock, acid rock drainage, tailings management, these are all areas that we need to focus on. And then on the geotechnical side, looking at tailings dams and waste dumps, pit walls, tunnels, and reclamation to make sure that as we go through our mining operations, we're ensuring a safe working environment. And then the general topic of health and safety around quality of air, quantity, ventilation, dust, noise, and site conditions are all being managed. So these topics are in addition to the previous slide here that we really look at things like environmental and sustainability to help our customers make sure that they're providing, suitable environments for their workforce. Okay, so what I want to do now is just quickly talk about the solution map from the AVEVA perspective and how our different technologies can help address certain business processes on a solution map concept. So what we have here is a very high level diagram that is showing the data flow through the different parts of AVEVA technology and what that means to our customers. Just firstly, across the top, I just wanted to point out that this whole solution map is really taking place across the entire value chain for our industry. So this includes upfront development of capital projects. It includes the extraction of raw materials in the mine. It includes the processing of that material into concentrate and other products, transporting that material from the processing plant across to the next step, which is around conversion and metallurgy to create the final product, whether that's copper or gold, or whether it's cement, or whether it's glass, or whether it's steel, or whether it's aluminum. These are all different parts of our value chain that we look at. And so if you look at the diagram below, what you'll see is 5 layers of capability, or let's call them technology areas, solution areas that need to come together to provide an overall solution footprint for the industry. At the very bottom level, you have the execution and control systems, which is really where the data is first created in our solutions. So from things like monitoring and control systems, from process optimization, from mobile equipment, from your shovels and trucks and other mobile equipment in the mine, from different IoT sensors and third-party data sources, and even external data sources that may be coming from outside of the company. All of this data needs to then flow up into this second layer called data integration. And this is basically the backbone of the data management for your organization. And we look at this in 2 ways. Firstly, the data management platform, which is storing all sorts of data, real-time data, historical, events. It needs to be all contextualized and centralized and managed for operations. But in addition to the data management platform, AVEVA has the asset information platform, which is a way of integrating the data in with different parts, different assets in your organization for things like harmonization, contextualization, and governance of the data that is coming through into the system. This data integration platform ultimately becomes the foundation for all of the different functions that are performed above. And if we look at the third level here around engineering and operations, you can see here some of the core technologies that are required for a mining company. Upfront engineering design for capital projects and sustaining capital. There's the whole topic of production management. And so this is really looking at performance, delay accounting, and other types of monitoring of what's happening in production. There's also the need to have mobile input. And so this is where we have information that's coming from other sources that may be disconnected from the technology ecosystem. So this is really providing the ability for personnel to go out into the mine and collect data and other information about their operations with a tablet and bringing that back and driving that into the system. We have the topic of the digital twin. And so all of the technology that is placed here, especially in this data integration platform, is really forming the foundation for an asset model and for synchronization around a digital twin. And then finally, to be able to run different simulations for process analysis and what-if analysis. And then we come into the fourth level here. So this is really about analytics and visualization. So from AVEVA, we have a range of different analytical tools for doing descriptive and predictive analytics. There is the whole issue around remote operations. So this is setting up integrated operations, remote operations control, and ultimately multiple site control. The reporting and dashboard part of the business is very much around real-time monitoring, historical monitoring, and plan actual variance analysis, and providing this information in easy to digest formats. And then finally, looking at mine to market. So looking at optimizing across the whole value chain. And then finally, at the very top level, we have our new technology called Connect, which is our cloud and ecosystem capability. And Zahab will be talking about some of this here shortly. And at the very highest level around Connect, we are looking at how do we integrate OT and IT. So things like data and different systems and setting up workflows for certain functions that might be occurring in your operation. There's a very high level view around enterprise visualization, and this is providing capability to visualize operations from the control room at the site all the way up to the headquarters of the company to the COO's desktop, so he can see what's happening across his whole site. One of the things that happens a lot in the industry is we need to be able to share data, not just within the organization and between different departments, but even outside of the organization. This might be with OEMs, for example, for looking at different, critical equipment. It may be with governmental bodies for regulation and compliance. Or it might be with energy companies where you're purchasing energy and need to be able to monitor what energy is available into the future. So data sharing is a big part of what is provided from Connect. We have an ecosystem capability that's set up where our partners can actually build capability into the AVEVA Connect system to extend capability beyond just what AVEVA offers. And finally, in the top right here, one of our most recent developments is what we call the Industrial AI Assistant. And this is like a generative AI chat tool similar to ChatGPT, but specifically focused on operational technology and that capability that is able to be determined from all of the data and all of the information that you can see on this diagram. So there's a lot here on this particular diagram here. This is kind of our everything that we offer from the capability of AVEVA. And I think we would probably say here that we're not expecting that customers would do all of these functions all at once. But what we try to do is have these discussions with our customers and develop a roadmap to get you moving along this kind of a solution map over a period of time to ultimately move towards operational excellence using continuous improvement. So I will take a quick. Oh, sorry, one more slide here just before I move across to the next step. I just wanted to mention here, some of our customers. This is just a small sample of our customers that we have all over the globe. You can see a lot of big names in there, Rio Tinto, BHP. There's also a lot of customers, from within the EMEA region, companies like Oyak. You've got Newmont in there with operations in Africa. Omnia is an industrial minerals company that's using global predictive analytics. There's a lot of different customers in here using our technology in a number of different ways. So before we jump into the next step, I just want to hand back to Shannon very quickly. We want to do a very quick poll with the audience just to get your perspective on some of the important topics for you. So Shannon, could you pop up the poll and just explain how that works?
Sure. So I've shared a poll on your screen now. We'll keep it up for a couple of minutes while you answer this particular question about challenges. It's what's the biggest challenge mining, metals, and minerals companies face when driving digital transformation. So you can choose your options there. We've got lack of investment in digital technologies, or perhaps your biggest challenge is legacy systems and data silos. There's also workforce resistance or skills gaps, and then short-term production priorities over long-term innovation. So you can choose what your biggest challenge is, and then we'll leave this up for a couple more seconds while we wait for our participants to answer. And then Glenn can just discuss what those options, what the answers are once we've ended that poll. So I'll give it a couple more seconds. It looks like we've had almost 50% of our attendees answering this question. We have 88 people joining today, so thanks for being one of those people who have joined our session. We hope you're finding it engaging. All right, I'm going to end this poll now, and then Glenn, I'll hand over the answers for you to take a look at. I'll launch
Okay,
that now.
perfect.
And you should see the answers there.
Okay, let's have a look here. Yeah, this is interesting, pretty evenly split, actually. You know, digital transformation, we have a lot of customers that come to AVEVA and with the topic of digital transformation. And of course, digital transformation can mean different things to different companies and different people. And quite often there's different priorities. And then, of course, the challenge of digitally transforming an organization, no doubt will be different, based on the certain priorities of what your organization, has as their situation. So, yeah, this is interesting. It looks like legacy systems and data silos is the slight winner here, 41%. No surprise there, right? Because it's one of the key topics is getting the data that you already have, which may be in silos and maybe in different systems, and how do you bring that together into a single environment where you can start to really get different analytics and different insights from that data that you might not otherwise get if that data is living in silos. So I'm not surprised about that being the winner, but it's interesting. There's it's kind of evenly split there. Lack of investment in digital, legacy systems and data. The workforce topic is a big topic. I mentioned that earlier in the presentation. The workforce is changing, and that is a challenge. And short-term production, yeah. Look, one of the topics that comes up a lot is, will my digital transformation potentially put my short-term production at risk? Some things to think about there. So thank you for the response on that. That's very interesting. We will take that on board here at AVEVA and consider that as part of our input to the future of our solutions as we go forward. So let's close out that poll. I'm going to hand across to Zahab, and he will walk you through a demonstration of our capability. So Zahab, over to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Glenn. So, team, for those who missed the introductions in the beginning, my name is Zahab Nabil, and I'm a senior technical consultant on AVEVA's technologies. Glenn has taken you through the challenges that metal and mining and materials customers from the Triple M industry face associated with their data. And also, we have seen some of the AVEVA solutions in that domain. What I'm going to demonstrate to you is a quick sneak peek, a little bit of flavor of how these various different AVEVA systems work together to ensure success for you. If we go back to the poll as well, a vast majority answered regarding digital transformation and legacy systems and data silos. So how we break these data silos and how we support you through your digital transformation journey is what you're about to experience in this demo. What we have over here is an enterprise visualization, which is connecting every sort of engineering, OT, IT, data, and system together in one common place. So you can achieve operational excellence, so you can work in a faster, responsive manner. You are looking at predictive data, you're looking at your top KPIs, as on the screen, your safety, production, your water usage. Situational awareness, you see a red dot over there, we click on it. We go to the value chain dashboard and we see what's going on. Directly, we can see that there is an alert or an alarm for our crusher. We have the information regarding the crusher nameplate. We know the real-time values. We also see the performance metrics at the middle, like the concentration throughput, the mill utilization. So we know exactly how it is impacting our operations. Before fixing this crusher issue or going into that, we also want to dive deep into what are the exact production, let's say, impacts that it may have caused. So an operations manager can open the next drill down screen and look at our entire production and performance overview. So for example, you have your availability, you have your OEE score over here, so you know what exactly is going on in terms of production. You have your CapEx cost, project cost, operation cost. You have everything contextualized, so you know what exactly is the impact of this failure. You want to repair it, you know your MTTR rates, so you have your mean time to repair. Crushing definitely is post as it can be shown on the screen. So let's investigate why is it post and why the availability is lower during the crushing and what is the impact. So here we are looking at our crusher, and one of the things called optimized blasting is used for not only conservation of energy, but also to eradicate most of the crusher faults because crushers cause most of the financial implications within the industry due to the faults that are within the crusher circuit. So that's why it's very common to put traffic light systems within the crusher circuit. And when we want to analyze it further, here comes the digital twin technology from AVEVA, where you're looking at the engineering tools with respect to this crusher. So you have all of the mine documents, crusher specification documents, the 3D model, you know exactly where it is located. It's a dynamic model. You click on anything and it updates. So you're seeing everything in accordance with your click of a button. This digital twin enables you to see the dynamic 3D models, the document, not only that, but all the changes that have been made to your operation, to your engineering design since inception. So you have the information from that time and you can link it with the operational data and have a look at it all together. So for example, we go back to our crusher now. We see that the bin or the is being fed by two conveyors. We are linking to your HMI control system, which is controlling the flow of the conveyor belts like the TR009 on top to ensure that the belt speed and the volume is providing you what kind of composition you need for your material. Also, from the engineering data, we can see that the bin 001 has an optimized capacity utilization of 65%. So we have to meet all those design metrics as well as we are able to control our conveyor belts from here by linking to the Schneider Electric SCADA flow system. So this comes from the entire engineering and operation part. We go back to our enterprise screen, and this is where we can see the overall impact of this particular outage. If we want to see even the other impacts, for example, if we go back to our value chain optimization screen, we can see that during the dump cycles, the trucks, because of the apparent feeder being closed, start picking up on the stockpile. So the stockpiles keep increasing. We can also look at it from that aspect. So here we have the information about the material disruption that's being caused by the stockpiles. Also, we look at the live real-time downtimes to see what exactly is going or feeding towards these stockpiles. We can see the second downtime event over here is regarding our crusher. So that is indeed affecting and causing these stockpiles. We know from condition-based maintenance by now, looking at the metrics, that this is due to high-speed coupling failure. But we can also further analyze it from a predictive and prescriptive approach. And AVEVA got you everywhere. So AVEVA has predictive analytics tools as well, as you can see on the right side of the screen. And at the bottom lower end, you can see the overall model residual. You know how your predictive model is performing. You know what alarms were created for your crusher, what warnings were there. So you can, based on this, actually act in a more proactive manner as opposed to following the time-based, calendar-based maintenance. You are actually doing predictive maintenance and you know exactly what could be wrong. And this is how AVEVA is supporting your digital transformation journey, not just by integrating data, not just by integrating systems. We are doing all that to provide you situational awareness, condition-based maintenance, acting in a more proactive manner, but we take it up a notch and we also predict failures for you days, months, and sometimes even years in advance. So wherever you go, Aviva will take you there. With this, Glenn, the floor is back to you to show the audience how our customers have implemented these technologies to achieve great success. Glenn, over to you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Zahab. Okay, let me go back and share my screen. Okay. So thank you, Zahab. The great demo. This is, some of what we're doing these days in terms of integration of our capabilities at AVEVA, to help build solutions, to solve customer problems, and to provide value to our customers. So what we're going to do now is just take a few minutes and talk about some of these customers that have been using AVEVA and what they've been able to achieve in certain areas. So I have about 4 or 5 case studies I can talk about here. So let's kick off. And some of these are in different areas. So we start off with Kolokoglu. Kolokoglu is a steel manufacturer in Turkey. So this is on the metallurgical side. The challenge that Kolokoglu had, they really did not have a lot of visibility into what was happening with their cranes in the steelmaking plant. And they were getting a lot of problems in prediction of the anomalies, future anomalies on the performance of the cranes. And what they were really looking for was some sort of real-time monitoring with predictive insights, to figure out, what type of minor issues that they're seeing with the performance of the cranes that would escalate into major failures and ultimately turn into operational risks and unplanned downtime. So Kolokoglu, in conjunction with AVEVA, looked at a solution that integrated their SCADA systems together with the AVEVA predictive analytics modules to maintain highly accurate and high quality data to reliably predict the performance of their cranes and when there were going to be issues with the crane that could lead to unplanned downtime. The result here that they were able to achieve, they eliminated unexpected failures of the crane wheels due to the implementation of SCADA and the AVEVA predictive analytics. There was also quite a significant impact on the workforce and being able to overcome resistance to change and to make sure, they were able to get their maintenance teams to be more effective in using predictive insights to make decisions about maintenance behavior. And ultimately, through timely and actionable insights using predictive analytics from AVEVA, they were able to avoid 348 tons of steel production loss, right? And so there's some real results that are coming through here in making sure that equipment is not down for unplanned outages. And so this is a good example in the steel industry around predictive analytics. Let me do, okay, so this one here is in minerals, in industrial minerals. So Omnia, again, this is a maintenance topic. Omnia is a global company for industrial minerals. I think Omnia has about 200 sites around the world. They produce a lot of industrial minerals in their operations. But they needed to modernize their maintenance practice, and they needed to look at new technologies. They did not have a way of finding early detection for equipment issues, and they noticed that they would do their whole systems around equipment reliability were very decentralized, and every one of their sites were doing things differently. So what Omnia deployed was the AVEVA predictive analytics for continuous real-time equipment monitoring. But in addition, they actually put in place a centralized reliability management center. And that center was based in Canada. And what they were able to do was not only implement predictive analytics at the sites, at each of the sites around the world, but they actually put all of the data into a centralized predictive analytics monitoring center to make sure that the entire company was achieving the results around analytics to help drive improved maintenance. Some of the results they saw early detection of equipment issues for up to 3 months ahead of time. They found out very quickly that the plants where they're producing their products, that they were able to empower the workforce and get better ownership of the equipment and the performance of the equipment. The centralized management is a key issue because that was where they were able to look at where they were successful in certain areas and transfer that knowledge to other sites. And so it was all about doing continuous improvement and benchmarking across their whole organization. They were able to avoid 15,000 hours of unplanned downtime in the first 2 years. And basically a single catch, a single maintenance issue that was avoided pays for the entire cost of the software and the implementation for an entire year. So some very significant value propositions there with Omnia. Let me talk about, so this is about mining haul truck performance. This case study here is for Agnico Eagle. Agnico Eagle it's the third largest gold producer in the world. They have operations in a number of countries around the world. They were able to, or the challenge they had was really being able to integrate data sets for looking at haul truck analytics and relate that back to the health of the equipment of the truck, the performance of the operator, and also the emissions produced by the truck. And so really it was about getting the data and securing that data integration in an easy and fast way. Again, coming back to that topic of data living in different silos from different systems, and how do you actually bring that data together to provide an overarching capability to monitor these very large pieces of equipment. And so they were able to build a data infrastructure that crossed both OT and IT. So they really looked at the telemetry data from the equipment. They were looking at fleet management system data from the different FMS systems, and they were integrating that with SAP for looking at things like work orders and other information from the business side. The solution here is quite an interesting solution. It was built around the AVEVA Connect system, where they deployed an end-to-end solution for operational data using Pi, but then integrating that data via Connect in with other technologies and into the cloud, which was on Azure. And you were using Databricks here as the orchestration layer for managing the data out in the cloud and integrated with Connect. And from this, they were able to determine and build all types of new interesting insights about their equipment that allowed them to gain additional performance from the equipment. And so in the results section here, the framework here was to operationalize their solutions around time series data and other relational data. So this is a key issue, is really how do you integrate time series data from the equipment with transactional data from, say, let's say from the fleet management system, and determine new insights about the performance of the equipment and the behavior of the operators. The internal development of analytical and predictive models was a big thing that they focused on, was building these models and scaling them across their entire organization, and doing this using cloud integration on Azure and using Databricks as that orchestration layer. And what they identified was a potential for 3% truck efficiency gain and 1% lower cost to improve asset health and lower carbon emissions. This is a really great case study, this one. It's really using a lot of the latest technology from AVEVA around Connect and cloud and system and data integration, using things like Azure and Databricks. There's a lot in this case study here, and we have a lot more information around how this was done and how it gets integrated across different systems. So if you're interested in understanding this more, please contact AVEVA and we can talk about the integration of OT and IT systems. Okay, let me talk a little bit here. This is ArcelorMittal, big mining and steel company, vertically integrated. And so for ArcelorMittal, their challenge was around rising costs, global competition with high quality and low price inputs, and they were struggling with shareholder value. The solution that they adopted was a reliability driven approach for asset reliability around business processes. And they implemented the PI system to automatically collect DCS data and integrate with their maintenance systems, and basically moving from reactive to predictive maintenance. The benefits out of their solutions here from AVEVA: $1 million per year per furnace and $19 million in total projected savings just in one use case. They were able to increase the availability of their equipment by 13% and increase yield and quality by 15%. And ultimately look at how they extended the life of furnace relinings to increase the time between the required relinings. So this is quite a significant case study around steel. I wanted to talk a little bit about Newmont. So Newmont, a global gold mining company, they're the largest gold mining company today in the world. They have operations all over the world, including in Ghana, in Africa. Newmont was really looking at how do they focus on fuel optimization and sustainability, and how can they decrease the consumption of diesel fuel. And they were able to, at one site, and so this is the site, this is one of their sites in New Guinea, where they were able to identify a $1.5 million diesel fuel saving just simply by looking at the data that they're collecting from the machinery and analyzing it to understand some particular situations about the performance of the equipment. So the challenge they had really was around they didn't have a single source of truth for the mobile fleet data, and they didn't really have any analytics out in the field able to look at the performance of the equipment. The data interoperability was a big challenge, and they needed some change management for how they address both production and maintenance. So they went ahead and implemented the PI system to capture the mobile fleet data and process various analytics in real time to come up with insights on the performance of the haulage fleet. They needed to also implement the action on insights to generate different analytics and address this with change management, coaching, and mentoring for maintenance and operations. The result, an availability improvement of 3%. So that's quite a significant improvement. Fuel reduction opportunity of 5%. this identification of fuel reduction was, it took very little effort to do this. Just by simply looking at the data in different ways, they were able to identify where there was a fuel reduction. Of course, that fuel reduction translates into $1.5 million per year, but of course, it also relates to a greenhouse gas reduction as well by burning less fuel. And that really translated into significant tons of reduction in CO2. But ultimately, over all of this was really looking at a way to use data from the equipment to drive data-driven decision making. And so I think I have one more. I'll just mention this one here. So this is Cemex, big cement producer out of Mexico, complex variable operations. They didn't have any real-time predictive capability, and they needed a sustainable way to monitor quality and goals. The solution was to bring in AI and integrate that with Pi for real-time forecasting of process variables and looking for operator actions and supervised auto steer on their cement kilns. And the benefit from here was an expected 2 to 7% yield increase and improvements in energy consumption, eliminated shutdowns and downtime reduction, reduced process variability, and increased throughput. So this is from one of the largest cement producers in the world, some significant results there. So I'll stop there and let me stop the share here. So we've covered a lot of different topics now, and hopefully this has been interesting to everyone, but we're able to take a few questions now. So I'll hand back to Shannon, and Shannon, if you can let us know some of the questions that have come in.
Thanks, Glenn. Thanks, Zahab. Yes, it's been quite an interesting discussion, and some people have sent us some questions. I'm going to start with the first one here. It says many mining operations in Africa often prioritize production targets over digital transformation initiatives. How can we align digital adoption strategies with their operational KPIs and investment horizons to show measurable return on investment? I'm not sure who wants to take that one.
Yeah, actually, I'll have a stab at this because this is a common question, right? There's quite often there is the issue of risk, where when a company decides to go down digital transformation, there might be some risk that it may affect production. And so the tendency is for companies to prioritize production over digital transformation. The way we look at this is that it's important for customers to really understand what parts of the digital transformation need to be adopted over time. And so we really encourage our customers to build a roadmap and to look at all of the different areas of transformation and actually score each area in terms of the value obtained, the risk associated with doing the digital transformation, and the effort level required. And so what we're really looking for with our customers is to focus on high value opportunities that are low risk and that are low effort. It's quite commonly called quick wins, right? What are the quick big wins that we can get? So we would not encourage our customers to go on a very large digital transformation journey that could take years. We would really encourage you to look at a roadmap of different topics. We would work with you, with our customers, to identify which topics make sense to start with and then to grow over time. And that way you're able to digitally transform, in a sensible way without impacting production. That's what I would say about that question.
Thanks, Glenn. I'm sure that was helpful for our audience. Another one I'd like to ask is, one of the recurring challenges in the region is ensuring digital systems are sustained beyond implementation, especially with high staff turnover and limited OT or IT integration skills. How can AVEVA and partners support local capability development to ensure long-term ownership and sustainability of digital programs? I think that might
So
go to...
do you want to jump in, or do you want me to try that one? Or
I mean, you could go ahead, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, let me say a few things here. I think from an AVEVA perspective, where we look at our organization and our technology, we're a world leader when it comes to industrial intelligence and industrial technology. And part of that is to make sure that we're providing the support, through our regional entities, through our partners, to make sure customers are delivering value. One of the things that I like to mention here is that AVEVA we have developed a lot of different capability, if you think back to that solution map, over many, many years. And so our solutions are very solid, they're very tried and proven. And so when you're working with AVEVA, you're working with proven technology that has been around for a long time, right? And our customers and our regions, our support mechanisms, and our partners understand this. Sometimes we see customers that build solutions, that are actually developing custom solutions, and that can be problematic when it comes to downstream support of those solutions. And if people leave and new people come in, that knowledge is lost. So I think from the AVEVA perspective, we feel that we've got a very strong support mechanism that can really support our customers now and into the future over very many years.
Thanks, Glenn. Moving now to connectivity, a question about connectivity is several African mines face unreliable network connectivity and fragmented data across legacy systems. What are some practical steps that sites could take to improve data governance and standardization while still accommodating limited infrastructure? Maybe that one's for Zahab.
Sure, I could take a first hit, and then Glenn, if you want to add. So, taking that particular thing into consideration, we have developed something called Edge Data Store, which is like a rugged small historian that sits on sites and at remote locations with your remote assets where you have connectivity issues. And as soon as you get connectivity, it does send the data out to your HQs or wherever you would like to utilize it. Additionally, pretty much all our operational software tools, they do come with buffering capabilities. So whenever you have connectivity issues, you're not losing any data. There is never a data gap. There would be let's say, in real time, you might not be able to see all the data because there is no connectivity. So not much you can do about it. But you do not really lose that data, and you're going to get that because of the way we have designed our technologies. Then would you like to add something to that, or is that an acceptable?
I think that's great. Just one thing I would add, Zahab, is, in today's world of OT, when we start to talk about cloud, there's always a discussion around connectivity and cloud. And I think it's very important to understand when you've got remote operations and we think about cloud, like Connect, that there is this topic of hybrid cloud. And it's very important, and we feel very strongly that there's a lot of mission critical solutions that need to operate at site, at the edge, on-prem, and that needs to integrate with the cloud in a hybrid capability. And that's something that AVEVA does, to really address the issue of poor connectivity.
Thanks, both of
And
you.
I'm just noticing a question here that popped up that is an interesting one around the X-ray technology. So yeah, maybe I'll just mention this one because it's actually an area that I've worked in before. So the question is that there is X-ray technology designed to look into rocks and identify hidden minerals. This is really some high-tech stuff. I would like to know if it was feasible to use AI to finesse X-ray beams to enhance mineral identification. So this is a great topic, right? Because a lot of the technology that we're focusing on these days is not just about time series data or transactional data. It's about looking at what are some of the characteristics of, for example, minerals and materials that, for example, using X-rays that can detect certain compositions of the rocks and come up with insights for the customers to identify what that rock is before it gets processed or before it goes to waste. I think, hypothetically, this is the sort of thing that we're looking at doing in a number of areas, not just in X-rays, but we're also through Connect and through some of our advanced analytics, we're looking at options to do things like fragmentation analysis using video cameras. We're also, the whole thing about X-ray and XRF is an area that we're looking at for looking at real-time identification of mineral at the shovel face, on conveyor belts into the plant, that type of thing. And the whole topic around AI is, as we know, is a big topic. It's addressing or it's coming into a lot of different areas. So I think the short answer to this is yes, we see a lot of opportunity for AI to go beyond just looking at time series data and transactional data and coming up with new insights that previously were not really available. There's a number of customers out there doing this type of thing today, and we're talking to them about this sort of technology. It's very important, for example, in things like fleet management. So when a truck gets loaded with material, understanding what's in that truck before the truck makes its way to the crusher is very important, right? So this is something that I think is an interesting topic. Okay,
Sahab, is
back
there
to you,
anything you'd
Shannon.
like to add on that?
I believe that's good enough. Yeah, thanks, Glenn.
Talking about technology, there's a question here from James, and he wants to know how vulnerable are AVEVA systems to cyber attack or unintentional connectivity failure? Is there a manual override option to bypass the systems in case of emergency?
So I'll take that. In terms of cybersecurity, we take that very seriously because we do deal with critical operations. So we do recommended architectures based on your security requirements, as well as our products. They go through external security audits, and we make those reports available publicly. And if there is any issue or vulnerability seen, which happened once, like 4 to 5 years ago, a minor vulnerability popped up due to an update in the Microsoft framework in the backend. Um, we directly notified all our customers and we had a patch up and running in no time. So we are very, very transparent about this. And this is something we take really seriously. About the manual override, I'm not so certain that I do get that question correctly, because our systems are owned by the customers themselves. So you always have control over them. You always have an override over them. So I'm not really certain what the manual override really means over here.
Glenn, anything to add there?
No, not from my side. I think Zahab answered that well enough.
Great. Then what steps can be taken to prevent unplanned shutdowns and prevent specific failure from recurring to control the impact on production and how it will help to reduce maintenance costs in the long run?
Well, I think let me take a quick start at that. Look, this is core to the AVEVA technology, right? Is using data to identify the performance of the asset and the components in the equipment to make sure that the equipment will not fail and that we're extending component life. And so this really ties into maintenance. I think there's a lot of different ways you can look at maintenance. I mean, obviously, the starting point is preventative maintenance, which most companies are doing, but then moving, on that maturity curve into condition-based maintenance and then predictive maintenance and then prescriptive maintenance. So in the AVEVA spectrum, we have a range of different technologies that do descriptive analytics and predictive analytics, around maintenance. We see this as a journey, right? That start with condition-based maintenance, then start to do predictive, and then start to ultimately look at prescriptive analytics, and get into the space of understanding the behavior and the health of your equipment and being able to know when that equipment will fail and being able to do something about that before it fails. Ultimately, that's going to reduce unplanned downtime and reduce maintenance costs. This is one of the core features of our capability on the maintenance side. Sahab, anything from you?
I'll just echo that. For me, like, the starting point is CBM. Everyone should be doing at least condition-based maintenance as opposed to the calendar-based, or when something goes wrong and then you go and fix it. And then the dream is to move towards more preventive, more predictive and prescriptive sort of maintenance cycles. But CBM is a must.
Yep.
Great. Well, thank you very much. We have reached the top of the hour, so I think we're not going to have any more time for any more questions. Um, but if there is anything that we weren't able to get to now, I will definitely share that with our panelists afterwards. Before we do close our session, I'd just like to ask Glenn and Zahab if there's anything, closing remarks you'd like to share. I'll start with you, Glenn.
Thanks, Shannon. Well, look, it's been great taking this time with you to talk a bit about AVEVA. There's a lot of exciting things happening at AVEVA. We're really making a lot of new progression into the world of analytics and cloud and ultimately AI. So there's a lot of opportunity that's available there for companies to look at improving not just core operations, things like maintenance and productivity, but also some of some of the other areas like reducing energy consumption and maintaining energy security, things like environment and sustainability are key topics, safety. There's a lot of different areas where our customers are gaining value from AVEVA. We would love to talk some more with all of you about what we can do and to help with your organization. So I'd encourage you all to reach out to your AVEVA representatives and let's continue this discussion. And certainly from the industry perspective, I'm available through the AVEVA channel to help have these discussions together with the team, with Zahab and others. Yeah, please reach out. We're very keen to talk to you about how AVEVA can help. Zahab?
Well, I would just add that remember, digital transformation is the key to success in this modern era. So we are working a lot on the subject matter expertise, which is very important, but imagine what you can achieve when that SMEs, the people, the process, and the technology all is collaborating and working towards your success. So you need to go towards that sort of thing, and Aviva is going to take you there. Yeah. Shannon, over to you.
Thanks so much. And that brings us to the end of the session. Thank you very much to Glenn and Zahab for your interesting and very informative presentations. And of course, thank you to everyone who joined us today. It's been a really insightful session showing how innovation and responsible sourcing are shaping the future of the industry. From AI and machine learning to automation and digital twins, it's clear that AVEVA's solutions are helping companies connect data, people, and processes in smarter, more sustainable ways. A quick reminder that today's session was recorded, so if you'd like to rewatch it or share it with colleagues, you'll be able to access it shortly on YouTube. And of course, we'll be sending out a link to the recording and a copy of the presentation slides after the webinar. If you'd like to learn more about AVEVA's software solutions and how they're driving digital transformation across industries, you can visit aveva.com. If you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to us via email at shannon@creamermedia.co.za. And with that, I'd like to bid you all farewell. Thank you very much for your time and goodbye.